Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about deciding, how to decide what school that you want to go to. This is based off of my experience, this is based off of some of my friends' experience, so it's not just like my own individual, what happened with me, but also what's happened with other friends and family members and what they kind of thought about and what they, went through in trying to decide where they actually wanted to go. So I compiled that all into one video for you guys, so I hope you enjoy, and I hope this helps you guys when deciding what school to go to. So the first thing that I would say that you need to do when beginning the process of narrowing down schools that you want to go to is pick a major. Or not even a major, but pick a general field of study that you want to do. You don't have to have a specific idea of, hey, I definitely want to be a lawyer, but you might want to have an idea of like, hey, I at least want to do something with criminal justice. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be something super specific like doctor or I want to be a veterinarian or whatever it is, but have a general idea of you want to work with animals or you want to work with people in some kind of medical way, because otherwise you're just looking at a bunch of schools and there's no way to narrow it down. Next, when picking the school that you want to go to, make sure you never ever commit until you've at least visited the school. Don't just take the word of the website, don't just take the word of a friend who went there and had a great experience, because here's the problem. Websites are advertisements. They're meant to make everything look appealing and awesome so that way students want to go there. And friends are different people than yourself. You're an individual person who has individual wants and needs and everything like that. And while your friend might have had a great time, you might not have the same experience because you are a different person. So, when trying to make a decision about whether you should go to this school or that school and your friend said go to this school, don't just take their word for it, go visit the school. So before you commit to anything, visit the school first. And when getting to the application process, make sure that you at least have 3 schools that you want to apply to. That way, in case your top pick doesn't accept you, which unfortunately that happens, just in case they don't pick you, you have some backups. Another thing when narrowing down your schools to think about is how far away are you willing to live from home? A lot of times this is the first time that kids have lived away from home, and so it can be nerve-wracking and it can be scary and it can be it's a whole new experience. You have no idea what to expect. Ask yourself, hey, am I a really shy person? Am I really introverted? Like, do I not want to experience all these crazy new things for the first time on my own, miles and miles and miles away from home, or am I comfortable doing that? I was more than comfortable moving away from home, so that was fine for me to move miles and miles away from home. But some kids aren't like that, and they would prefer to have family close by, and that's 100% okay. But that's going to help you narrow down where you want to go. Another thing to think about is the climate. Sometimes, I grew up in a very snowy, cold state, so moving down south was different, but good. It was good. I like where I'm living. It's definitely a lot warmer. It's definitely a lot rainier than what I'm used to. But I like it, and that wasn't an issue for me. But some people who grew up, let's say, in a really, really warm state like California, they might not want to move to some place like New York, where it's going to be a little bit colder, a lot colder. There's going to be humidity. There's going to be all sorts of bugs and creatures that they never experienced before. So, that's just something to take into consideration. If you live in California and you like the warmth, you might not want to move all the way to New York where it's going to be cold. So take that into consideration, and like I said, visit the school. That way you know what kind of climate you're getting yourself into and the location and whatnot. But take that into consideration. It really is more important than you think, and that'll help you narrow down where you want to go. And then in more of an academic practical standpoint, think about the turnover rate of kids who are graduating and getting jobs. If you go to a school where, yeah, they might have a good program, but you graduate and no one has a job in that field, then you kind of wasted your money, and now you don't have any way to pay back those student loans if you have student loans. So think about and research how many kids from that school, if it's 90% or above, you're probably okay. But if it's 70% or 60% or sometimes even 50% of kids that graduate get jobs, maybe give that one a hard pass, because that doesn't sound very good, and the chances of you getting a job after that aren't the greatest. Obviously, yeah, if it's 70%, then yes, you have, out of 10 people, you might be one of the 7 that get a job. But do you really want to take that chance that you're one of the 3? Like, I just feel like that's sketchy, and I wouldn't want to do that. But if you're comfortable with taking those risks, then that's fine. But I would recommend really researching for each school that you're looking at what the turnover rate of kids that graduate and get jobs versus kids that graduate and don't get jobs. So just take that into consideration as well. Another question to ask yourself when looking at schools for the first time is if you want to start off at a community college or if you want to dive directly into a 4-year school. I started off at a community college and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great for me because I took a gap year and then I was trying to get right back into school, and a community college was a small enough setting because it was a smaller school. It felt more homey, it made me feel more comfortable, and it gave me amazing opportunities. I went to a great community college that had tons of scholarship opportunities and had tons of internship opportunities and really opened the doors to a lot of different programs and things like that, and they had really good teachers. So it gave me a lot of opportunities to grow as a human being and to learn more about myself and to learn more about the career that I wanted to do. So when I transferred to a 4-year school, it was just an easier situation for me. It was so much better, and I had more liberties and more freedoms because community colleges, you don't live on campus, and 4-year schools, they tend to have a 1 to 2 year living on campus requirement. So I was able to make the decision whether I wanted to live on campus or not because I started off at a community college. So it gives me a little bit more freedom. It gives me a little bit more leash to move around on and to figure out what I wanted to do and what I was comfortable with. And so I think it's great to start off at a community college, and it's cheaper. Honestly, it's cheaper to start off and get your first couple years all set and done. That way when you move to a 4-year school or transfer or whatever, you only have to pay 2 years of their tuition versus 4 years. So I think it's smarter to start off at a community college, but that's just me. That's how I did it. Some kids start off with a full ride and they don't even have to worry about finances. So, you know what, everyone's different, but I think it's a great idea to start off at a community college. But that is something that you need to take into consideration of whether you want to start off at a community college or whether you want to dive directly into a 4-year, and that'll also help you narrow stuff down. Another consideration is big or small school. There's so many benefits to both. One, a small school is you get to meet a ton of people and you get to become close with a ton of people, and the professors tend to notice you a lot more, and you could open up the doors to a ton of opportunities. But with a bigger school, sometimes there are more opportunities and there's more scholarship opportunities, and there's more connections to be made, and people tend to favor bigger schools more for some reason. So if you go to a bigger school and you graduate, and you might get a better job from going to a bigger school. So there's a lot of cons and pros to big schools and little schools, but take that into consideration. Also, if you're not comfortable with a ton of people, maybe don't dive into a school that has thousands and thousands of students, but go to a place that only has maybe 2,000 students. Just think about that. Obviously, everyone's different. Everyone's going to have different experiences. Everyone's going to want different things out of their college experience. But take into consideration the size of the schools that you're looking at and what the ideal size would be and what you're going to be flexible on, because that'll also help you narrow stuff. And the last thing that I would take into consideration, that's a huge thing, is the money. How expensive is it for you to go to this school? And this kind of goes hand in hand with the turnover rate that we talked about of the kids that graduate and get jobs versus the kids that graduate and don't get jobs. And that is, if you go to a school that's wicked expensive and you rack up $100,000 of student loans and debt and whatnot, but they have a crappy turnover rate, as in when you graduate you probably won't get a job, that's really bad money management on your part, and you should probably rethink that whole decision. Go to a school. There's nothing wrong with going to an expensive school if you know for a fact that you will be able to pay that back, because you don't want your credit to be completely shot to hell the minute that you graduate, because now you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and you have no way of paying it back. You don't want to start off your adult life like that. That's a horrible situation to be in. So I would recommend probably looking into the finances of the school, looking into how much it's going to cost you to go. Maybe you don't even have to take out loans if it's cheap enough, but if it's a reputable school, then you will probably get a job immediately afterwards. So take that into consideration. It's a huge aspect of college, and that is finances, student loans, scholarships, grants, anything like that. Private schools tend to give out more grants and scholarships than public schools. I don't know why, probably because they have more financial backing, but private schools tend to give out more grants and loans. Public schools, however, do have opportunities for scholarships, but they tend to have more students, which means the scholarships for you, and for myself and for anyone else going to a public school, then you know what? It's probably going to be harder for you to get one, to get a scholarship, to get a grant, to get whatever, because there's so many more students and the stats on it are lower. So that's just something that you need to take into consideration. It stinks that finances are such a huge part of school when all you want to do is go and learn and whatever, but it's a very real one and something that needs to be taken into consideration, and you have to think about it, as annoying as it is. But anyway, those are my questions, and those are my things that I would think about and talk to people about and talk to your parents about before diving directly into school. Those are things that I would do. Make a checklist. Make sure you scratch off every single one of them. And yeah, I hope this video helps you guys in making the decision of which school to go to and how to narrow stuff down, because really you should have about 3 schools that you're applying to, at least 3 schools. But definitely in order of this is the one that I'd love to get into, this is the one that I'd be okay in getting into, and this is the one that I'll go if nothing else works out. But have those schools, have backup plans, know what you're doing, think about finances, think about living situations, think about people that you're going to want to be around, think about the partying situations. If you're an introvert, you might not want to party as much. There's just a lot to think about when deciding which school to go to. So I hope this video helped you guys out. Leave comments below explaining how you made your decision, if you've already made your decision. That could help out anyone else. And yeah. And while you're down there, you might as well give it a big thumbs up or subscribe, because I make new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. And yeah, so I'll see you guys all in a couple days. Bye!